the healthier coping mechanisms that I use to get through life is gardening. And of all the gardening, I don't know, chores or jobs or whatever that come up, there's something so soothing to me about potting things up. I think part of it is like literally playing with the dirt. Like you get to run your fingers through it and touch things, and I don't know. And then you see the little guys that you're potting up. Maybe you bought them from a store. I did not. I bought seeds and I started them, and everyone was like, "You're starting your stuff too early. Don't start it too early." And then I waited, and I don't think they're quite big enough, but I don't know, maybe they're right, because they are pretty good size. Like here's a res hot pepper. I started this little guy from seed. Well, I started them all from seed. What's this? Another one. Oh, this is a Zapotec jalapeno. It's, you know, some kind of like ancient Aztec variety. That's always fun. And oh, a fish pepper. This guy was so teeny tiny like just a few days ago, but the weather got really warm and it shot up like crazy. Kalugaritsa, I don't know what that is, but it's a pepper and it's hot, and I like hot peppers, so that's fun. And last year, anything else? Oh, this little guy. Can you see it? It's a really pretty pepper, Puma. Like the leaves are this purpley green color, and when they start to ripen, the peppers, they're like stoplights. They turn red and yellow, well, and green, and then they turn into this purplish yellow. They're really cool. They're very pretty. So I like to grow my peppers in fabric grow bags. I'm never going to be able to get this open. Every time I've tried to grow a pepper in my entire life in the ground, it has been a total disaster. But these grow bags work really well, in my opinion. I don't know what they cost now, but I got these last year. And I use 5-gallon grow bags for my peppers. And I unfold them. And then I fill them with dirt. But it's not polite to call it dirt if you're gardening. It's soil. So dirt, I suppose, is something that you like. Oh, and I'm drinking beer. That's one of my not so healthy coping mechanisms. But when I try to grow peppers in the ground, they turn out like not good at all. However, when I put them in these grow bags, my mom uses pots and she has good luck. And I have this magic patio concrete slab thing that's really hot. And they like the heat, but peppers also like afternoon shade. And if you use these grow bags, you better be prepared to water them every single day because they leach water like crazy. The interesting thing about these bags is that there is no root binding that goes on, because with like a plastic pot or something like that, the roots hit the side and then they start to curl around and the roots get bound. But with these fabric bag pot things, the roots hit the edge and the air on this side kind of fries the root, but not in a bad way. It just prunes it. So there's no root binding, it just stops the root from growing in that direction. When I put them all on the patio last year, I had them all packed in nice and tight because, you know, they were just like these little tiny plants inside. But then when they started to get really, really big, I had to space them out because they were crowding each other. And peppers appreciate afternoon shade, so, you know, some shade is a good thing. But I ran out of room. So I took the fabric pots and I set them into the grass that was like next to the patio. And when I did that, the roots went from the bottom, went into the ground. I thought that was pretty interesting. So it really is like the air that prunes the roots on the side. And They seem to like it. But if you want the plants to get even bigger, you could maybe countersink it into the earth or the ground a little bit, or just set it in the grass like I did. And they did great. I mean, these plants were huge, and I had ghost peppers and sugar rush peach and all kinds of things like coming out of my ears. They're still in the freezer, and I have all kinds of like glass jars of dried peppers. It's pretty glorious, really. So I've got my little seedlings, and I took some rainwater that had collected in like these 10 by 20 trays that I have my seedlings in, because they've been outside for a while now. And I dumped it into this Pro Mix that has the mycorrhizae or something like that. It's some kind of root stimulating, I don't know if it's a bacteria or what it is, but people seem to like it, and it works pretty well. Oh gosh, I forgot though. I like to use the those little slow release fertilizer bits. I'll be right back. It's real close. Osmocote, that's what it's called. All right. So, since it's slow release, I don't really measure. I just kind of cross my fingers and hope that I don't kill anything. And I dump a bunch in. Keep something. There's a lot of dirt in my dirt bucket, my soil bucket. I should probably use gloves too. I don't know how people deal with that. I have to apologize every time I go someplace and hand over my credit card, and I'm like, I've washed my hands for 2 minutes in a row, and I'm sorry I can't get all the stuff off of my hands. I've been gardening. It's not as horrible as it looks. They're very patient. I mean, you say you're sorry ahead of time. All right, so I'll put this in my lap. Let's start putting soil in. It smells a little funny. Actually, I love the smell. Gardening is so, I would say tactile, but it's not just touch. It's smell and sight and that kind of thing. Fill the bag up all the way. So another thing that I heard is that, you can't grow tomatoes with buddies, like one tomato gets its own spot, and it gets really, really huge. I'm a member of a whole bunch of different gardening groups on Facebook, and there's this one called Friends of Baker Creek Seeds, and all my seeds are from Baker Creek because they have really good varieties and selections. But the trick that they have that pulls me in every single time is that they put the picture on the seed pack, and I am a sucker for pretty things. So I really like being able to see what it's going to look like when it's all finished. And they do a nice job of, they're just clever. I like it. Okay. I'm going to dump a little bit of this rainwater carefully into the dirt bucket. Moisten it up a bit more. Soil bucket. And then top it off. So before I started gardening, I was a baker. And it's kind of like folding liquids into dry stuff. Like, you want it to be fluffy. You want it to be moist. And I know people don't like that word, but it's true. You want it to be moist, but you want it to be aerated. You want the roots to be able to not have to meet a lot of resistance, as they shimmy down or whatever. Okay, which one? Oh, what was I saying? Oh, right, yeah. So tomatoes like their own spot, but peppers in the gardening group that I am a member of, some wise woman was like, you know, peppers like to have a buddy. I put 2 pepper plants in lots of my 5-gallon bags last year, and they did great. The one mistake I made was I didn't pay attention to like kinds. So I would put a jalapeno with a bell pepper in the same pot. Don't do that. If you're gonna put 2 peppers in the same 5-gallon grow bag thing, make sure it's 2 of the same kind. They'll all be happier that way. Because they grow at different rates and different sizes, so if one grows really, really big and the other one not so much, then, you know, one takes over and the other one gets a non-fair shake. So I'm not gonna do that. I said I had 2 Res Haws. Oh yeah, here we are. So I'm gonna take my 2 Res Ha peppers. I think that they're from Macedonia, something like that. And they're so cool. They're really tasty. They cork, and those are like the crackly, dry wrinkles that are on the outsides of peppers. And they do that as part of who they are. They do it quick, they do it fast, and a good Res Ha does it a lot. So I pop it out. It's not root bound at all, but like the roots are all the way down to the bottom, which is great. And so you can plant a pepper, like, okay, so tomatoes will grow roots all along the stem. So you can take off a bunch of the leaves of a tomato plant and plant it really deep, and that whole stem will develop roots. But peppers are not quite like that. So with a pepper, there are these little fake leaves that come out, and below that, the stem is like a different color. So that whole different color part, you can plant that below the ground, that's fine. Anything below the 2 little fake leaves, you can plant that below the ground. But it's not like a pepper. If you plant it, like say, up to the first real leaves, if you plant that part down, that plant part might rot, and that's not good at all. That will kill your plant. So, tuck it in. And tucking in is like something I say a lot, even if it's just in my head. Like you want to snuggle it in. You don't want to push it in and compress everything, but you don't want it just like out there all by itself either. All right. Make a little hole. It's not too wet, not too dry. Do the same with this one. Can you see the roots? Like there's a root right there on my finger. Just pop that guy in. Wait. There we are. Snuggle it in. There. So nice. And this will get huge in no time. And I know because I have these jalapenos that I put into a grow bag the other day. And one of them was like really big. I'd started it like a lot earlier, and the other one was considerably smaller and had been started a lot more recently. But the weather was just perfect. Like I put these 2 guys into their pots, and that little one caught up with the big one. I mean, they're pretty much neck and neck now. So I don't know. Maybe it is okay to wait a little and not have to worry so much. So I'm gonna do that with like all of these. What do I have? Jalapeno, like I said. Oh, you know what? I only have one of these Pumas because I gave the other one to my mom. So that guy will have his own pot. And fish pepper. These are really pretty. They're variegated. So even the leaves, this one doesn't seem to be displaying it too much, but a little. It might pick up. But like the leaves will be a light green and a dark green, and the pepper is like that too. And there are lots of these things, you know, they're edible whenever, and they taste different at different stages. And technically a pepper is not completely ripe until it's red, unless it's a pepper that only gets yellow or something like that. But these fish peppers, they start out like white and green, and tastes very yummy at that stage. But if you want to save the seeds, you have to wait for the pepper to get all the way red. What else? What else do I have? More jalapeno, Sugar Rush peach, Kalugaritsa. I don't know what it is, but I know it's hot. Another fish. Oh, Trinidad Yellow Scorpion. So this is one of the ones that I think I let these things go to the very end last year, and they don't turn red, to the best of my memory and knowledge. They just kind of stay this beautiful, almost orangey yellow, but I mean, they're wonderful peppers. They're hot, but not psychotically hot, but really hot. And they have a really rich, citrusy kind of taste and thick walls. Like, they're juicy, they're fun, they're cool. I like them a lot. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Because I tried, excuse me, intentionally, I tried to cut down on my insane pepper production from last year, but yeah, I might go crazier again in the future. I'm not so sure, but I love peppers. I love making hot sauce with them. I love drying them, and then I'll just crush them in my mortar and pestle thing and sprinkle them on whatever. And I do it a la carte, because if you grind the peppers too early, well, if you think about it, so it's the oil in the pepper that provides the flavor, you know, especially like the fresh, readily available flavor. If you grind them ahead of time, you are creating more surface area, because what was once just, you know, this little pepper, you've broken it into 1,000 pieces. So now there's like this side and that side and this side, all these sides that are exposed to the air, and then that evaporates the oil or dries it out, desiccate, whatever, and that tears down the flavor. So that is why I personally grind them to order. And yeah, that's about it. So I'm gonna take all of these guys, put them into grow bags, and then I'm gonna put them on my awesome little patio that's over there facing southwest. And I have some taller plants too, to kind of border them to provide that afternoon shade that peppers like. And I'm excited. So yeah, that's all. Thank you very much. And please pardon the traffic noise and the birds. They can be a little pushy as well. Have a good evening, happy gardening, and I'll talk to you later.